The House voted to censure progressive Congresswoman and squad member Rashida Tlaib late last night over her anti-Israel rhetoric, making her only the 26th member censured in House history. The resolution serves as a formal bipartisan rebuke of Tlaib's remarks after Hamas's October 7th terrorist attack, as well as her defense of the anti-Israel slogan from the river to the sea. 22 Democrats crossed party lines to pass it, while just 4 Republicans voted against it. But Tlaib says she will not be silenced.
The idea that criticizing the government of Israel is anti-Semitic sets a very dangerous precedent, and it's being used to silence diverse voices speaking up for human rights across our nation. I can't believe I have to say this, but Palestinian people are not disposable. The cries of the Palestinian and Israeli children sound no different to me. What I don't understand is why the cries of Palestinians sound different to you all.
Joining me now, Democratic Congressman from Florida, Jared Moskowitz, who voted to censure Tlaib. Congressman Moskowitz, welcome. And I know that this is a very personal issue to you. In fact, your temple was targeted by 5 men in ski masks. What happened?
No, thanks, Kaylee. I appreciate coming on again. Yeah, I mean, look, a bunch of kids went in ski masks, went to my synagogue in Parkland as the congregation was getting out from services and yelled, "Kill the Jews," at people from my congregation. Most likely because they saw this on TikTok. They saw the hatred that's been on TikTok. They see people pulling down posters of hostages as young people say, oh, this is all fake. These people aren't real, like a magnet to these posters, like they have to tear them down. We're seeing all of this like electronic fentanyl in these echo chambers of hate, and it is sweeping young people on college campuses across America.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. You know, you mentioned those hostage posters being teared down. It breaks my heart when I see it. And I know that you're very complimentary of the Biden administration speaking out against anti-Semitism from the president. But I want to play for you something that happened at the White House podium yesterday to that point.
A lot of videos of individuals who have been tearing down signs, many of these taking place in New York City, of Israelis presently being held hostage in Gaza. Is the White House's view that these actions should be condemned, the pulling down of them, or that that's a form of peaceful protest?
Look, I've sort of kind of seen the reporting here and there. I think it was from last week,
There's
right?
been like 30 million videos that've gone around.
No, I know, I hear you. I hear you. I'm just not going to. I'm not going to. I'm not going.
Is that peaceful protest to pull that down, or should you not be doing that?
I'm just not going to go into specifics on that particular thing.
Congressman, should this be condemned outright automatically?
Yeah, of course. We saw this, unfortunately, previously on the issue of anti-Semitism. Now, again, I'm happy that the press secretary has put out something on Twitter condemning the removal of these posters. And so, you know, I don't know why it can't happen at the podium and it has to continue happening on Twitter. Obviously, that's concerning, but I'm happy the fact that the press secretary has come out and condemned that behavior. And President Biden has been unequivocal on his support of the Jewish community and is calling out anti-Semitism. But I would say, Kaylee, I don't know what it is. It's like a mental illness that we are seeing with people on the streets, that they see these posters and they just feel that they have to tear them down. I'm meeting with families here in Washington, D.C., whose kids are missing, whose babies are missing, whose sisters are missing, husbands are missing. They're held hostage in Gaza. And look, you have a right to protest in this country. You have a right to free speech. But we also have a right to respond and call these people out. Something is clearly wrong right now with the youth of America, that they think it's acceptable when someone has been kidnapped to try to erase that person. Like they can't look at them and they just must tear it down. And so, you know, this is a big problem right now for the Jewish community. We're seeing anti-Semitism record highs in the United States, people going to protests with signs that say kill the Jews, gas the Jews, cleanse the Jews. Look, you can be for a ceasefire, you can criticize the Israeli government, but to be clear, when you're talking about removing Jews from the earth, that is hatred that we have not seen since the Holocaust, and we are never going back. Jews are going to speak up, we are going to fight back, we have learned from history, and we're done being silent when we see this level of hatred.
Yeah, I can't imagine tearing down a poster of little 10-month-old Kafir Bibas, who has now spent a tenth of his life in captivity. Congressman, you joined 21 of your Democrat colleagues to vote to censure Rashida Tlaib. Why'd you do that? And do you wish more Democrats would have joined you?
Well, look, everyone has a constitutional right to say what they want to say. And we have the speech and debate clause here in Congress so that they can say what they want to say. But Congress as a body can also come together and decide we disagree with those comments and that they don't stand for the comments of the body. Listen, from the river to the sea means the elimination of the state of Israel. We cannot redefine that. That's what it means. That's how Hamas uses it. Right? We're not going to let people say Mein Kampf was a coloring book. And so at the end of the day, that statement should not be used. It's calling for genocide. Hamas is using that as a way to wipe Israel off the face of the earth. And so I'm happy that there was a bipartisan group of colleagues that said those comments don't stand for the House. And let's be clear, this is not happening in a vacuum. Right? This is
Congressman, really quick, only 60 of 212 Democrats voted to condemn that phrase. Do you wish more of your colleagues would have in that joint statement that was signed yesterday?
Yeah, well, look, Haley, you know how this place works, right? You worked on Capitol Hill. It's very rare that Democrats condemn their own colleagues, and it's very rare that Republicans condemn their own, right? It's very easy to deal with anti-Semitism across the aisle. We have no problem calling it out when it's a Republican who does it, and Republicans have no problem calling it out when a Democrat who does it. But it's very rare to do it when it's coming from within your own. And so, look, I'm proud to have stood. Yeah, I'm proud to have stood with the 22 folks. You know, look, we're moving forward. Obviously, you know, this is not something we're going to dwell on, but it is something that I think was directly important to say that while everyone can say what they want, right, they have a constitutional right to do so, the House can say that doesn't stand for the body.
Congressman, you have shown moral clarity on this issue over and over again. I want to thank you for that. And just on our way out, also want to thank you for that bipartisan legislation with Michael Lawler to put those oil sanctions on Iran. Thank you very much for your efforts.
Thank you.
Harris, you know, it is pretty unbelievable that people would tear down signs that you can't get just all 435 members of the House of Representatives on board with condemnation.
Yeah, I just would say to Representative Moskowitz and the other 21 people who voted to censure Rashida Tlaib, it is sad that you stand alone, and many of those who voted are Jewish. Where are the black members of Congress? They marched with African Americans in the streets. You're nodding. Yeah. I mean, they funded some of those marches. Where are these voices? And by the way, if she really, Rashida Tlaib really is brokenhearted about Palestinians, what in the world is she saying to the leaders of Pakistan? They have just expelled 1.7 million Palestinians with nowhere to go but the neighbors who are desperate to take as many as they can, but now they're saying maybe not? I mean, those numbers aren't too different from the ones who are trying to go from north to south in Gaza after the terrorists living among them, calling themselves a government, slaughtered people and slaughter their own people. I don't buy it. The scarf doesn't tell me how she feels, really. Her actions do. Call Pakistan. Get a home for your people. Call Jordan. Call Saudi Arabia. Call Iran, all the people with the money and the power, the command and control over the Hamas terrorists and Hezbollah. I mean, if she really wants to make a difference, censuring her isn't going to force her to do it.
That's a great point. But Emily, to the point of Congressman Moskowitz, it's not easy to condemn one of your colleagues. There's a lot of pressure put on you by your party, but he has shown moral clarity in saying, I stand on principle.
He has. For that, I'm so grateful. I respect him. I think the pressure put on by the party is one of those self-made machinations that those of us everyday Americans whose tax dollars pay those salaries don't care about. Get it done. Censure that inappropriate, unacceptable rhetoric and that behavior. That's what I see. That's a pretty clear order. I do want to point out his phrase, the use electronic fentanyl, I thought was so powerful because we are all able to understand fentanyl as an immediate death sentence, right? There's sort of no going back from that. And talking about the anti-Semitic behavior sweeping across TikTok that has influenced, he said, the youth, for example. He called them kids, I'll just call them monsters, who wore ski masks and engaged in that vile behavior and rhetoric toward his fellow synagogue members. That was so apt. It implies that there is no coming back. It implies truly the death of the independent, free-thinking, compassionate, moral clarity position that none of these people seem to have anymore. Final point. I note that the way that the narrative is being phrased of the censure is for, this is by the mainstream media, comments made about the Israel-Palestinian war. They are not just comments, everyone. They are anti-Semitic comments. And that same coverage, for example, was very clear with the descriptions of prior House members, the 25 who've been censored, and why, for some reason, hers also is being molded over and made less sharp than it really is, less vile.
No doubt about it.
I'm Steve Doocy.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.